Okay, so yeah, welcome. If you're just turning up now, great to have you here. And just thought I'd do this one outside during the day, a bit off the cuff. So just some ideas that I've had about some reasons why. Uh, yes, we get very. Oops, kicked my headset out. There's a fantastic start. So yeah, as we start working on our stuff, we get very obsessed with clearing past traumas. And that is a really important part of any self development work. You certainly don't want to be just focusing on the positive at all. But in the area that I guess many of us work in, and many of us also have our own sessions with practitioners or working on our own stuff. We really are looking at clearing the emotional effect and impact of past traumas in our lives. Now, after a point, that may not get you to where you actually want to be. And I'll come on to that in a moment. Before we really start with that, just like to say, great to have so many people on board already at the start of this live stream. Can you, if you're here, if you think this might be of interest to people that you know, share this with them. You can tag them in the comments. Also, any heart reacts would be fantastic, as it helps to get this out to more people, and it might help those people with something that they really need in their lives. Yes, so as we see, yes, clearing is, Jen's already said, clearing is crucial, done gently, absolutely. Clearing the effect of past traumas is very, very important in healing many things. Well, any life issue, clearing, finding and resolving the past attachments, the limiting beliefs, and everything that happens as a result of them is very important. And there are some issues that will be transformed by doing that. And that's where the success of techniques such as EFT can really be seen, and where it became really very powerful. People were able to clear things like phobias, anxiety, panic attacks, even some very serious things. Even any life issue can be cleared by resolving the past traumas. By resolving, I mean clearing your emotional attachments to things that happened in the past, and the limiting beliefs and emotional blocks that they're creating in your life now, so that you can move forwards without those actually affecting you. But we get obsessed with that because it seems so powerful. Certainly, many EFT and holistic practitioners really put all of their focus on clearing the traumatic events from the past. And I guess this comes from many decades now of therapy, mainstream therapy, and also a lot of the holistic therapies, really focusing on the effect of the past and the impact it has on your life now. And so some people get really obsessed with going into minute detail down every little trauma past timeline, trying to resolve every little nuance and actually shifting those without looking at some of the many other areas that can impact. Now, I think we actually, as practitioners, we learn about these areas as well, but because the clearing the past stuff we see such powerful results for ourselves and for clients, it's easy to actually miss or not pay attention to some of the other areas that can be addressed as well. So yes, there are also ways that you might not have done the full job on clearing past traumas or the impact of past traumas. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to just say that you've done an excellent job of finding all of the major past issues in your life, for traumatic events, and you've managed to shift the emotional attachment to them. You've explored them very thoroughly. You've looked at all of the aspects, or certainly a good amount of the aspects, because there is always more to be done with the past big and small traumatic events. It's not necessarily something that is finished and you can just move on from. But there's always more to explore with these past events. But for the purposes of this, let's assume that you've done a really good job, or you and your practitioner, or you, if you've been working on it yourself, done a really good job of exploring and releasing the emotional impact in your life of past traumas. And while some things have happened, while your life has got better, you maybe feel calmer, more grounded, there's still, the big life issues haven't changed in the way that you'd hope they might. And I might be talking about, huge, life themes, things like your issues with financial abundance, aspects of different health conditions, of getting into a successful and happy romantic relationship, things that have been big themes that you've not been able to resolve, even though you have cleared a significant amount of the past traumas, and it's starting to get tiring looking at more and more past traumas. So assuming that they're largely clear, let's just look at a few of the other things that you might wish to explore or think about. Now, some of these you're probably going to go, well, duh, because they're so obvious. However, just because they're obvious doesn't mean that everyone does them, because when you get caught on this, going back through the spiral of time to try and resolve these past traumas, you can get really caught up in that and not look at these aspects. So a big one that I see quite a lot with people is that it's a theme. It's a consistent theme. And this is still really past events, but it's not that there's a big event that they can point to as as a significant thing. Even with if lots of searching, you might find a few events, and clearing them gives some relief. But what we're looking at here is a life theme. And these are the kinds of things that were just, perhaps as a child, they were just happening every single day of your life. And could be things like, just a daily sense of neglect, for example, daily feelings of loneliness. So there was nothing which really stood out as a big worst event or some big sort of emotional spikes throughout this time. It was just the pattern, constant arguing between your parents, leaving you feeling deflated. These are just some examples. Of course, it could be anything that was a drip, 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 drip throughout a long period of time, which gradually just, like drips of water going onto stone, they gradually wear it away. And this is the effect. You can imagine these daily drip, 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 small, tiny, micro traumas every day, just gradually building this pattern and belief system up. And these are hard to clear with the traditional methods of using things like EFT, where you're looking for these big emotional peak movie events that you can clear the attachment to very easily and feel great afterwards. But these are, these drip, 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 constant daily grind things are actually perhaps more of an issue, and they can lead to really big patterns being formed in your life. And there are different techniques to actually resolve these, still using tapping, but there are ways that you can work with these themes. So that's one thing. If you haven't explored the sort of daily grind type issues from your past, then definitely that's something that you might want to look at. And that's probably something that's worth exploring with a practitioner, because it's not just a case of tapping one at a time through every issue. And even with the generalization effect of clearing lots of the small events, it can be so much of it and so ingrained that you need a different process. I use something called release and replace, which is a great way of working with many with basically every time you ever experienced an issue at once, and gives a lot of relief, and then points out the key events to work with. So that's one, is that it's a theme rather than a specific big event or series of big events. Okay, so the next one. Now, this one is massive and can be a real surprise to a lot of people. So much so, I'll probably do a bigger Facebook Live on this this particular one at some point soon. What if your biggest themes, your biggest life issues, aren't caused by these sad, traumatic events? What if they are caused by the happiest times in your life? So we're focused on clearing trauma, but what if the biggest issues in your life were actually caused by the happiest times? And these are these life-defining memories where you might have said something like, it can't get any better than this, or this is as good as it gets, or I'll never feel this good again. And just think of what you're actually doing to yourself with those statements. You are telling yourself that that this is as good as it gets. And so what that's doing in the body is actually creating a like a drive to over and over again be trying to create those experiences, or the way that you felt like that, over and over again. And this is a really big thing to explore, and we know it as a guiding star. And again, it's something that we're trained in the practices that we do, but it's because we often get caught up in looking for the bad events, we forget to look for these amazing, like, peak experiences, which from then on we're always subconsciously trying to recreate. So something that was absolutely amazing, this is very common in things like addictions, where someone might have had this really amazing experience with a substance the first time, or maybe not even the first time, but a time that they used it, and then their life becomes about chasing that. But it can also be, it can be about it can be about looking at, for example, it could be the one time that you felt real love from an otherwise distant father, or something like that. It's one moment. And an example is an example of this is a woman who is this is a real one, who was eating tubs and tubs of strawberry ice cream every day, and it tracks back to a time when it was the one time that she felt love from her dad. They were sat on the beach and she was eating a strawberry ice cream, and she was always trying to recreate the happiness that she felt in that moment. And for doing that, the ice cream was essential to a point. It had become a massive part of her having huge weight gain and real life issues. Now, the thing about it's really important that you're not actually trying to clear the happiness or the positivity from the event. It's not about changing the event, because we want these happy moments are good, and they can be very powerful resources for us to actually create positive change in our lives, if we are using them in the right way, and not looking at them as, not looking at them as these things that always have to be obtained. They're more like showing us that we can feel this extreme happiness and moments of bliss, euphoria, etc., and then using that in a good way. So in these cases, it's more about actually working out what the underlying pattern, what the underlying thing that was missing or is missing from your life is, so that extremely positive guiding star moment still remains as a nice memory, but it isn't something that you're trying to recreate all the time. You're not always trying to go back to the past. You can go forwards with the understanding that you are capable of having those wonderful peak experiences and creating more of them in a healthy and positive way. So that's a short understanding of that. Now, this can be extremely surprising to find these guiding stars and really understand them. So I think it is, again, that's an area where if you think that there might be some big peak experience controlling your life, and you want to explore that and make sure that it's done in a gentle, thorough, and responsible way, great to work with a practitioner on that. So welcome to all the new people that are joining, and any questions, comments, feel free to drop them in. If I see them, I'll try and answer as we go. Also, if you I can also answer at the end, and if you're watching this as a replay, then feel free to put questions in, and I'll still answer them in the comment stream as well. Okay, so we've got these drip life themes. We've got the guiding stars, where the happiest moments of your life are actually causing the behavior patterns and issues. So then we come on to actually, have you got do you actually understand yourself? Do you know yourself? Do you understand your, yes, release and replace, Heidi? I'll put some more details afterwards, but basically it's a way that you can work on many echoes all at once, and then be able to explore the individual issues that come up following that. So it clears a lot very, very quickly. So values. Do you know yourself? Do you understand your core values, or are you just trying to live society's goals? So I do talk about this quite a lot. You might have seen me talk about this before. If you are not setting intentions for your life based on your own personal value system, then you're very likely to have your ladder of life up against the wrong wall and be climbing, and you might get to the top, you might succeed, and still be miserable because it's not what you wanted after all. So understanding your own personal value system is very important, and also understanding that this changes throughout your life. So the values that you had even last year might not be the same as what you actually value now, and it might be that you'd have managed to achieve things you thought you valued, and then they're no longer really what you need. So just really understanding your personal values, so that you're not chasing society's goals rather than your own inspiring and exciting objectives for your life. So again, there's loads of ways that you can explore your values, and values also offer brilliant opportunities for tapping, because you can start to see where you're not fulfilling values in your life and start to work that out and how you feel about that. You can start to see where you might have two high values in your life that clash with each other, and then work through why that's happening, and that can give you a really interesting way forward. So examples of that might be freedom and security. Often people have both freedom and security, and they can clash with each other. So if that's the case for you, then you can explore that with tapping and find a good way forwards. And related to that, if you are, once you know and understand your values, then you can use them to create a really inspiring vision for your life. So a vision, now a lot of people create visions. They do things like vision boards, they do visioning meditations, they think about what they want. But again, if this is not based on your values, if it's not based on an understanding of what you really want inside, then you're not going to be driven towards it. Let's say you've got I guess an easy one to explain is in monetary terms. Let's say you've got a vision for £10,000 a month, and that you want that. Well, actually, that number probably doesn't excite you. You might think it does, but what really does is what that would mean to you and how that would fulfill your values in your life. So if you're just working on the society type goal of money, some people do get turned on by that, and great. If you do, definitely use it as a way to move forwards. But if not, you need to work out actually what's going to bring you a life in line with your values, and then create a vision for that and use that to actually transform things. Okay, so we've got the life themes, the life patterns, the drips. really important to look at. We've got the happiest events of your life, these peak experiences, the guiding star moments, and which can be just as responsible for big issues in your life as traumatic events were. We've got not understanding your values, not having an inspiring vision to move towards based on your values. So you're always looking backwards to clear things rather than starting to look forwards and bring the future in. And now, got one. Well, I'm sure that many people here have heard of the term spiritual bypassing. So, spiritual bypassing, very briefly, is when you're not doing the work and actually only looking at positive things and going, and with spiritual bypass, if you're spiritual bypassing, of course, isn't a good thing because you're denying your shadow side. You're not looking at the traumas, not looking at the negativity, and it's not good. However, that's not what I'm talking about here. I want to talk about physical bypassing, or we might call it practical bypassing, I suppose. And this is when you're so busy doing the work that you're not actually doing the work. So you're not actually taking the actions and moving towards the things that will create your life. Now, I see this a lot with people who are wondering why. They're like, oh, I keep clearing all my abundance blocks. Why is the money not coming in? It's like, well, what are you actually doing for the money? I say, oh yeah, well, I do a Facebook post once a week and I've got a website. It's like, yeah, but you're not taking action. You're not actually reaching out to people to inspire them to start working with you or to start a dialogue with you or whatever the actions are. Or, let's say it was meeting a new partner or meeting or going out into the dating world. You're not doing the things. You might be clearing all of the blocks from old difficult relationships, from your parents' relationship that you saw that made you subconsciously either want to attract a partner that's like your father or mother in some way, and that's not working out for you, or all of the things. You might be seeing all of that, but if you're not actually getting out there in the world or going on the dating sites or whatever the strategy that you decide on, if you're not doing the real life work, then that's what that's what I've I don't know if I've created this term, but I'm going to take the credit for it. It's physical or practical bypassing. So not actually taking the steps to make things happen. So yeah, just curious what you think about that. Anyone got any questions? Anyone like to share some heart reacts, etc., anything like that? So I'm available to answer any questions for the next couple of minutes or so. Just go quickly through those points again. Number one, it's a life theme rather than specific big events. There's lots of small drip events. Number two, it's the happiest moments of your life, the guiding stars. Number three, you don't understand your values and how to use them to move forwards in your life. Number four, you don't have an inspiring vision from your life based on your values. It might, even if you have a vision, it might be based on society's goals. And number five, the physical or practical bypassing, where you get so obsessed with going into every nuance of clearing your trauma, you forget to actually come and do the real day-to-day work that's necessary. So, just see if there are any comments, anything to answer in here. Right, okay. So, yeah, a couple more to talk about. Number one is habits. Now, even if you've cleared all of this deep stuff, and you might still have the habits that have been created from those traumatic patterns. Now, habits are basically create neural pathways in your brain, which make it very easy to fall back into those old habits. So something that you've built up over 20 years, a habit built up over 20 years or longer, doesn't just break by clearing a few traumatic events. necessarily. It can do with some people, often it doesn't. So in that case, it's just similar to the physical bypassing, taking the action to actually start being consciously aware of your habits, tracking them with actually taking using some sort of habit tracker to create new habits, to rather than the old habits, and consciously moving towards them. And this is where the real sort of day-to-day life change happens. So yeah, just remembering that breaking habits isn't just a case of clearing the traumatic events that have led to them. It actually needs the new habits come in to create new neural pathways. Right. Okay. Yes. So there is a highly shared a guiding star about and how and what's been taken away. So that's a really interesting area to work on, and you've realised that, and I guess you realised that already, and that is, there's a big, massive theme there to work on. That could well be a guiding star. That might be just missing a positive thing, and be positive. But not every positive thing is a guiding star. So again, with that's a more of a happy theme that I guess went from your life. So yes, still there is stuff to work on, and you work on it in a similar way as a guiding star. But there might be other guiding stars there. So big and small positive, and also with there, of course, there's the negative perceptions and the attachments of things that happened since they passed away and what that meant to you as well. And sure, you've worked on much of that as well, but yeah, it's always good to explore all of those aspects too. Okay, so there's habits. I think that's it. I think I did have one more, but it's fallen out of my ears now. If I remember it in the next minute or so, then I might share it. But never mind. This was great to have so many of you here. And I just want to say that I'm currently offering free discovery calls. So if you'd like to explore any area of your life, whether it's related to health and well-being or creating a life that you really desire, just put a yes or a Y in the comment stream, or drop me a message, and I'll send you details of how you can book one of these calls in, and we can look at a path forwards for you. So yeah, lovely to be here. Thank you very much. Any last questions? Just coming up to 30 minutes now, so I'll hang on for a few more moments. Any last questions on any of that? Very happy to answer. Otherwise, be ending in about 30 seconds, unless I remember what this mysterious last one was. No, I think it's well and truly gone. But So if there's anything if you want to look at, not just the traumatic side of life, but also how other things can be impacting and what you can do, create a new way forwards for yourself. As I said, just drop me a message or put a Y in the comments, and I'll show you how to book a 1-to-1, 30 to 40 minute conscious discovery call with me. So that's Sam, EFT Now, over and out. Bye for now.